I'm blind and I was kicked out of a Seattle restaurant. You heard that, right? As soon as I started talking, bone drop. And now he's gonna drink some water. You hear that? He wasn't thirsty till I started talking. I'm blind and I was kicked out of a Seattle restaurant. Some of you may have already seen this story because I posted a viral video on TikTok, IG Reels, and YouTube Shorts. I was on the news about it like 3 times. Oh my God, what is that? Oh no. Okay, I was trying to use this timer because apparently I talked too long and I was trying to set this up, but how am I supposed to even see what's on the screen? Do we need to restart? Or is this like the appropriate start? I mean, am I even recording? I was left to do this alone and I'm like, where's the red light? Okay, I think it's recording. So this story, it went unexpectedly viral about a month ago. I've talked about it on local news here in Seattle. I've even been on the national news about it. It's gonna air later this month. It's crazy that this all kind of happened. If you haven't seen that video and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Because today I'm gonna give you like the whole story, all the details, more of an expanded version, let you know what was going on here. So, about a month ago, I was meeting a friend at a restaurant here in Seattle. Now, this isn't even something I commonly do by myself. Like, usually Matthew is with me. So going out alone, meeting people, this is not really common for me, but the beautiful thing is, because I have a guide dog, like it is something I can do comfortably. I used to never do this with my cane. I would always have people come pick me up and we would go to a restaurant together. But when I got Mr. Maple, I felt really confident walking into, I go grocery shopping, I do a lot of shopping and errands, I go to my barber, I run errands, but like even just like meeting somebody at a restaurant was terrifying to me because of my blindness, because of my level of blindness. I have retinitis pigmentosa, I lost over 90% of my vision. It's like looking through a straw. That was really terrifying for me to do. But I have since like overcome that fear because of Mr. Maple, because he can take me anywhere. So I'd never been to this restaurant before. I was meeting like I said, I was meeting my friend and I'm always early. I don't know, early gang. I hate keeping people waiting. It gives me anxiety to be late. So I am typically planning ahead so much that I'm 10, 15 minutes early. And then I'll sit there sometimes and be annoyed that I have to wait so long. And the person is usually like extremely punctual. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, they're late. But that's okay. That's another thing entirely. So I like to be early. So I got to this restaurant early. I arrive, I walk through the doors, and Maple takes me straight to the door. We've never been to this restaurant before, but I knew the directions. And for anybody who's unaware of like how guide dogs work, like the person handling the guide dog has to know where they're going. They have to know the turns and everything. A guide dog isn't gonna be able to take you to like say McDonald's. If you say like, let's go to McDonald's, it doesn't know where McDonald's is. You have to know where McDonald's is. By the way, this restaurant was not McDonald's. It was a little nicer than that. So we arrive at the restaurant. Maple takes me straight to the door. I open the door, and as soon as I walk in through that door, and I can hear the hum of the restaurant, the busy bustle, somebody approaches me, meets me at the door. I don't know, maybe they were standing there, maybe they saw me, I don't know. They just come right up to me, but I got the feeling that this person works there. And this man said, you know, oh, sorry, no pets allowed, only service animals. Now, this has happened to me maybe half a dozen other times since I got Mr. Maple. Someone will just simply ask, is this a service dog? Because, you know, a lot of places, they don't allow dogs. Interestingly, in Seattle, a lot of places do allow dogs. Any old pets, you can bring them in. It's like a pretty dog-friendly place overall. But, you know, some establishments, you know, they draw the line. Just service dogs. And Mr. Maple was in his harness. He had this harness on. And you can probably tell, it says right here on this plate, it actually says guide dogs for the blind right here. Maple, no, Maple, I have your harness. He's like, are we going somewhere? I said, he's a service dog. Actually, he's my guide dog and I'm blind. Now, Maple's scrambling. Maple's scrambling. So I said, I'm blind. And now, bear in mind, I am locking eyes with him when I said this. Because as you know, if you've been following this channel, I have a pinhole of sight at the center of my eyes. And when somebody is speaking to me, I look in the direction of their voice and I look up slightly from their mouth and I try to find one of their two eyes to look at. And if the light is good, I can do that. If the light is poor, I can't. But this was a bright like it was like 11:30 a.m. It was like in the morning. So there was lots of light and I looked up and I was looking right in one of his eyes. And that's when he said, "You don't look blind." And I was like, educational moment, right? This is an opportunity to educate. This is what we do every day on the internet. I'm no stranger to that. So I said, oh, actually, you know, like most people in the blind community have some functional vision. And for me, I have a tiny bit of central sight and I can usually just find one eye. And he looked very unconvinced. I mean, this guy had the most unfriendly expression in his one eye. My heart started to race. He was looking right at me and he looked down at Maple and I assume he was looking at the harness and he said, oh my God, my coffee. Wait, I need a sip. I need a sip. As if I need to be more caffeinated at this point, but actually this is decaf because this is my third coffee. I cut myself off after 2. This is number 3. It's gotta be decaf. What can I say? I like the taste of coffee. So he said, and I quote, "This isn't my first rodeo." I don't even think I've heard that expression since like my mom might have said that to me when I was a kid. Like who? I don't even know. Anyway, he said, "This isn't my first rodeo. You're gonna have to go. The dog, you and the dog, you can't not come into the restaurant." At this point, I knew like this was a really unfriendly encounter and I was totally alone. My friend hadn't arrived yet. Matthew's not with me. I said, I can go home. I'm shaking at this point. I can go home and I can come back with his paperwork. I don't even know why that entered my head. It's probably really important to note right now that blind people aren't given a special card that says you have a disability, that it doesn't exist in this country. When you travel with your service dog, like I got him from the largest guide dog organization in the country. However, they give you like a little laminated thing that has like some law printed on the back of it. It's like a little ID card, but it's not like an official recognized ID card. It kind of looks, you know, pretty ordinary, like anybody could have made one. Funny enough, it doesn't even fit in my wallet, so I don't even carry it around. I figured just like the gear was like enough, and people just believe that it's a service animal. I've since learned that according to ADA law, like they can't ask more than that. They can ask if it's a service dog and they can ask what duties that dog provides. Maple's having a great time over there, by the way. He's found a squeaky toy. But I was thinking like, oh my God, I feel like I now have to prove myself. I felt really embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt like, oh my God, it was such a weird place to have a disability and then be put in a position where you have to defend your own disability. Like it's a doubly bad situation. It already sucks just to have to go out and be scared of like walking into a restaurant by yourself. Now I feel like I'm in the court of law and I'm like having to prove my own disability to somebody, and that's a crappy feeling too. So I said I could go home and get the paperwork, and he said, if you come back with that dog, I will call the police. That is when I was just like, I need to get out of here. I need to go. I need to talk to someone. I don't even know what to say now. He's threatening to call the police. In retrospect, honestly, it's one of those situations where later you're like, oh, I could have said this. I should have done that. I should have told him to call the police. The police would have been on my side. Like all of those thoughts came to me later. At this point, I was so overwhelmed by the situation. I just wanted me and Maple out of there. I actually ended up going straight home. I called my friend. I said, we're gonna have to reschedule. I was just so shook by the whole situation. And then I came home. What do you got over there? Anyway, I came home. Matthew was home and I explained everything to him. I actually called him on the way home and he wasn't picking up his phone because he was in a meeting. When I got home, I told him everything that happened. Oh, no, back it up. Okay, this is the important thing. I came home, he was still in his meeting, and I made that video. The video that went viral. I just recorded it raw, all of my emotions. And in that video that I made, I named the restaurant. I called them out. Anyway, I put that aside. I told Matthew the whole thing. He's like, well, we need to call the restaurant. We need to speak to the manager. Was that the manager? I had no idea. I don't know who I was talking to. So Matthew and I, we called speakerphone and called the manager. We talked, got through to a manager, explained the whole situation. He was so apologetic, so like horrified, like obviously had no idea that this had happened. Wanted a description of the person who had talked to me. I said, I'm blind, I can't really describe. There wasn't a lot I could go off of, but I kind of just did my best. And he was like, okay, I think he kind of knew who it was. And and then he said, could you come into the restaurant? I'd love to meet with you. And I said, like, I'm really hesitant to do that. Like, that's not something I'm super comfortable with after what just happened. He said, would you please come by this evening? That employee will not be here. I'd love to talk to you in person. So I went in with Mr. Maple and was immediately greeted by the manager, and it was a completely different experience. Like, he was obviously expecting me, was extremely kind, apologetic. I even took Maple's harness off and let him meet Maple. He has 2 dogs and he's like a dog lover, and he just kept saying how this is not part of our training, this should have never happened. However, he did provide a little bit of an explanation, and I want to stress that he gave an explanation, but not an excuse for his employees' behavior. But this particular restaurant has been having a really, really big problem with untrained dogs coming in with service gear. So these may be service animals, poorly trained service animals. They may be just pets that aren't actually service animals. And this is actually a thing. This is a thing that I've learned just through having social media and having a guide dog. I know that this is a problem. I didn't realize it was becoming such a big problem here in Seattle, but apparently it's a really big deal. A lot of people are buying fake certificates, fake guide dog harnesses that you can even buy these, and fake vests and all that just to get their dogs on airplanes, into restaurants, all sorts of places. It seems harmless because it's like, my dog is sweet and I just want to bring my dog with me everywhere, and it's not doing any harm to the world at large. This isn't hurting nobody, and I get that. I know, like, those people aren't doing it maliciously, but what it is aiding is this bigger issue with more and more untrained animals going into restaurants, going into public settings, and actually making the lines really blurry between what real service dogs are. Like, Maple's been trained from the time he was a puppy to be a service dog. He's lived his whole life to be a service animal. This is what he's been trained to do. Professionals, many people, a lot of time and energy has gone into making him the dog he is today. And you can't just slap a vest on any old pet and expect the same result. It's going to kind of create this image for the service dog community that looks like, wow, there's a lot of untrained service dogs in the world, when in fact, actually, that's not true. These are not real service animals a lot of the time. So it's a little complicated. And apparently this restaurant was having issues with it, and the worker, the staff member that I specifically had the interaction with just the day before had this terrible experience with a dog that came in with a service vest. It was completely out of control. Apparently it even snapped at him. I don't know if it actually bit him or what, but like, it was an aggressive dog. And I don't know if the dog, I actually feel bad for the dog. The dog probably shouldn't have been in this setting, and the owner was taking the dog into that setting, and it was a situation that escalated to the point where everybody had to be removed. They were in the middle of their meal. This is what I was told, okay? And the guy was really stressed out because this had been going on for a while. And this happened the day before I came in with Mr. Maple. Now, Mr. Maple is extremely well behaved. He should not have mistaken my dog for another untrained service animal. However, so this is the part where things got a little more complicated, because while some people are really trained about service animals and guide dogs and what animals can and cannot enter establishments, a lot of training does not include the nuance and the spectrum of disabilities. And this person, because I was making eye contact with him, believed I was lying about my disability. And because he thought I was lying about my disability, then obviously he thought I was lying about having a real guide dog. Like, all of this was, like he said, this is not his first rodeo. He's encountered this before, and he's not going to be fooled again because what happened yesterday. So that was the sort of the backstory I was given. And it's interesting because, like, I get that. Like, my feelings are hurt, of course. That was a crappy situation for me. And I'm sure a lot of other people, in fact, since putting that video out, I've learned that a lot of other people have been through very similar things. But I guess at the end of the day, for me, what I've come to realize is, like, I don't even blame that person. I forgive that person. I really do. Because it's not really his fault. Yes, okay, he acted like a jerk, and that it shouldn't have happened that way, but the real root of the problem that I've since identified is the lack of education. Every day on the internet, I have to defend my own blindness in the comment section. Every day. There'll be people in the comment section of this video saying that I don't look blind because I'm able to look into the camera lens. I have to educate people constantly. So it's no surprise to me that this man didn't understand the spectrum of blindness. It's no surprise to me that this man thought I was faking my blindness. And then it's no surprise to me that he wasn't even gonna let Maple in because of those misunderstandings that he had. So I got an apology from the manager. We got a really generous gift card. I have not yet used it. It's been a month. I don't know when or if I'll go back. I mean, I might. I'm not ready. And I even received an apology from that particular employee via an email. I haven't spoken to him personally, and he was very apologetic. And I've been asked, I'm not exaggerating, maybe 10,000 times for the name of the restaurant. Everybody in the comment section of every video, every person I've encountered wants the name of the restaurant. And like I said, I included the name of the restaurant in the first video I posted, but it was because of Matthew's urging that we give the management a chance. He said, let's edit that out. Let's just take that out. Let's talk to them first. And I have to say, I am so grateful for Matthew's good advice, because what I've since learned was that there was a restaurant a couple hours south of Seattle a few years back that had a similar situation, except that the person who was blind and had their guide dog, he filmed the whole encounter. And he was basically asked to leave this restaurant. He posted that video online naming the restaurant, and the restaurant was shut down for 3 months. Everybody lost their jobs. Every server, every cook, all of them. All these innocent people that had nothing to do with it, they all lost their jobs. The restaurant was shut down because of one server's actions. And then when it came back, it was boycotted so badly that they had to sell the restaurant. Then they sold it to a new owner. And to this day, it's still boycotted. It still has like a 1 star on Yelp reviews. I think it's then since shut down again, like because of this one incident. And like, you know, it's everybody's right to call them out. And the person was sued. They got $11,000. I've since learned that that's what you can get out of these situations. You can sue and get $11,000. I think that's about the precedence. And I thought to myself, like, I could get $11,000 out of this, I guess, if I want, but I'm gonna ruin all these other people's lives at the same time. I'm gonna like upend this whole situation. And then I talked to the management, and just because of the sincerity of the apology and the promise that the training was gonna get better, I really am so grateful that I did not name the restaurant. And I will never actually publicly name the restaurant because I don't want anything bad to happen. I feel strongly that the purpose of this event was an opportunity to educate. I am so lucky I'm in a position where this educated potentially millions of people, because the video's been seen 13 million times on TikTok. It's been seen 6 million times on Instagram. It's been seen, 20 million on Shorts. I mean, this has been all over the place. A lot of people have seen this, and I hope that this incident has really helped people understand that having a fake service animal is not a cool thing. It's gonna like make it really difficult for the disabled community, and that there is a spectrum of disabilities, and to educate yourself about what disability, there's a lot of invisible disabilities. I could have walked in and said, I'm disabled, and I look like a perfectly healthy, normal person, and it shouldn't be up to that person to try to figure out what exactly is wrong with you. If you say you have a disability and you need a service dog, then that's it. That's the end of the conversation. And yes, they can ask, well, what does it do? Specifically, what are the tasks your dog does? They are allowed to ask that. They can't ask about your disability, but what is the dog going to do? In my case, of course, my guide dog guides me. So that's it. That's the story. I don't know. If you have any more questions, if I left anything out at all, ask me down below. I will try to answer. And if you actually made it to the end of the video, let's drop the guide dog emoji. I particularly love that one. He's got the little harness on. It's the little guide dog. And Maple, come on, we need to see you. He's going to get a bone. He gets excited. He needs he needs to pick out the toy. Up. There he is. I don't know. Oh, yeah, you're a sweet boy. How could anyone turn you away, right? Right? All right, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Again, I really do enjoy this, hanging out with you, telling stories. You know, this was a little more serious. This was kind of a serious event. If you take anything away from today, please just share this story with some of your friends. Talk about, if you know somebody who's faking their service, putting like service gear on a pet, tell them, like, this is actually gonna make things worse for people who really need those animals, and maybe share this story with them so that they can have some context for that. And also, just don't forget to educate people about the spectrum of disabilities, all disabilities, not just blindness. I'm here to talk about all disabilities. I only represent myself in my story of blindness. However, I do know that our disabled community is so varied, so nuanced, there's so much. Don't make life harder for those people, you know, myself included. Just spread love and kindness and compassion. That's what we're here to do together, okay? Thank you so much, all right. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. I love it when you do all the things. Okay, bye.